busy day, like Mother's Day or something. You just absolutely slammed. Go with my lunch break, put that on, come back, like pumped and ready to go. Like I'm just like standing there bar, like making drinks, swift as a coursing river. You know?
You've been made a man out of.
Exactly. And I hope that Talon have kind of made men out of each other. Something about that didn't sound right. But they're out the gate. They're out the gate on Hanamura. Rawr, says D-Crown. And we get to see the old Shui Genji special again, the Gen Shui. Ooh.
We're also going to see Persia take a very early pick against Kant, and this should be giving Talon a decent advantage moving in now. As Raphael, well not Raphael, but rather Persia, uncontested in the back line. Another kill coming in.
Yeah, I mean, Raphael was uncontested in the back line as it happened. Persia able to kind of get the shot onto Shui and then the close out. So, you know, the alley-oop combo once again, and Machi, they don't have either of those DPSs. They've got to wait for them to re-enter from the other side of the fight and then kind of try and get back onto this point. They kind of got to go now, and it's not really an ideal time. Restia's already down in the counter dive. So now is Kant as he tried to re-enter from the other edge of the fight. And this is just going to go the way of Talon. Unfortunately, there wasn't even a good way for Machi to retreat from that situation.
This is where you do see the speed out of Talon come into place that they needed to show on Village back on Nepal in the first map when they waited too long. This time, they get a kill straight away onto Kant. They do not wait. They go directly onto the point. They say, Machi, you got to fight us here, added disadvantage. And also on top of that, no one can touch Persia.
My ultimate is charging.
It's like, it's not allowed. No one. You're not allowed within 5 feet of Persia.
What Machi are looking for.
At the height of their empire, when they were untouchable. Immortal, if you will.
Machi also looking for some ultimates to play with right now, which they are getting. So Talon,
at last,
they waited too long.
Yeah, and Judo was able to just kind of create the space with that self-destruct. Now throwing in the nano boost onto D-Crown. And Talon, they haven't really found a great entry here. That being said, they haven't exactly lost members either. Finally losing MCD. Now looking like they're going to be able to pressure out Haru. Doesn't really matter that they've lost Judo. Talon just kind of have to back off from that one.
So this is kind of like, you know, this is the coin for Talon, unfortunately. The heads is when they get that very quick kill into Kant. They push onto A, they camp it up. But the tails looks like when they don't snowball themselves onto a B, they allow Restia and they allow Kiyomi to get defensive ultimates. There was a timing window available when those ultimates were not up. That's when Talon should have moved in, and they didn't.
Unfortunately so, and I mean, Machi, they're really still holding on to these key tools. They've got the Transcendence. It's not like Talon really have any big DPS ultimates that the Transcendence would traditionally counter out, so Kiyomi should have a lot of flexibility in when he actually commits that. Shui coming up on a Dragon Blade as well.
That being said though, Persia, a good headshot can just go straight through a Transcendence. Yeah. They need to get this Transcendence out first. So far, they've used their own Valkyrie, but we need to see some kills come out.
They're not even really fighting on the point, unfortunately. They're just kind of skirting around it a bit, trying to get their way in. Buteo trying to do it now with this ultimate, with the Primal Rage, but it's just not converting. Good catch onto Shui, though. Takes that Dragon Blade out of the fight, means D-Crown has to commit his Primal Rage here. Ooh, run down onto Kiyomi as well, just before he got into spawn. Raphael does go down to Restia, unfortunately. And I mean, look, the dive still comes in, they still convert out the kill, but Machi, the respawners are coming in. Judo can stall out with the self-destruct. They'll have the Dragon Blade cycling in here. They just need to dislodge these tanks, and they've nearly got Buteo down. They haven't quite committed those ultimates, though. When are they going to come out? They need to use them. They had to commit Judo's self-destruct really now, otherwise they are going to find themselves slowly getting overrun.
And by the way, amidst all the chaos, Persia did return as a soldier. He set himself up at the high ground, and only now has been dealt with. Only now he's been pushed back once out, and for Talon, with that gone as well, it's going to be them doing the full retreat, and they did not get one tick. That's the part that's going to be very difficult for Talon to swallow, because actually they managed to get a lot of decent picks, but also a lot of those picks were one-for-one trades, which favor Machi as the defenders here, the ones with the better respawns, and Talon, the long walk back to the point.
And never quite got the extra kills they needed to kind of tip the balance of the fight. Machi played that quite greedy, though. They took a long time to commit that self-destruct. They opted to not commit to the Dragon Blade either. Oh, stick onto Haru on the flyby. Goodbye, and now Buteo getting run down as well. I think he will be able to get out of this one, but it's just time lost for Talon.
I'm also reasonably surprised Persia, he just really wants to go into this McCree pick because the Soldier being set up on the high ground is so much more consistent. He already had some ultimate charge, was working his way towards a tactical visor, and Talon are so far needing resources. They need to build up these ultimates. Sitting themselves backwards is not where they want to be right now. And Machi, they can dive in, they have the Dragon Blade ready, they have a Transcendence ready as well. Got a lot of tools.
Raphael does go down though, so Talon again just kind of losing down. They spent so much time not really doing anything in particular, still just kind of resetting. They popped the Valkyrie there. They haven't found an end.
And this is part of Talon just being walled out. I mean, they're using ultimates and they're not getting any progress. They're using ultimates and they're not even able to really walk on top of the point. Machi just continually holding up his entrance.
Well, finally, the catch on C Crown to open it out, but they even get 1-for-1 once again. Persia goes down. Buteok has popped that Primal Rage, but in goes Shui with the Dragon Blade. He converts plenty, and Talon have never quite broken out of this little corner here by the outside courtyard.
And by the way, while MCD's Transcendence was going on, Restia from downtown threw a Bionade that landed on at least one tank or Slay Vega.
That's so
he wasn't even able to get healing from the Transcendence. So for Talon, they couldn't even use their tanks to push forward with the Transcendence, with the healing to break ground. They just stuck at this entrance, and the counter trades as well from Judo, just exceptional.
It's just starting to look really rough for Talon. They haven't really got a good way of breaking through here because Machi, they've always got something they can be cycling into, some other ultimate they can be using. And Machi are the ones kind of setting the tempo of these fights. They're the ones moving around, swapping left, swapping right, and vice versa. And Talon are the ones constantly reacting to it.
You need to see from Talon as well the willingness to kind of lose fights, but lose fights while forcing Machi to use ultimates while not using their own. They kind of have that sort of now, but also not really because Machi are ahead in ultimates. We're finding a little bit of space to work with, but they're not finding enough kills.
Yeah, MCD down to the nano boost. D Crown gets Buteok as well, and it didn't really matter that Persia got the headshot there. Again, this is just, it's time lost for Talon. Like, that wasn't even a fight close to the point. In fact, after that sort of major fight that nearly went their way, they haven't really got close to the point at all.
And they don't have an advantage. Most importantly, we're at the 1 minute mark and there has not been a single fight for Talon where they have a real advantage against Machi. It's been Machi ahead of the curve economy-wise in his entire defense.
Flashbang Fan, not quite enough to down D Crown. Kent just going to be looking for an angle on a pulse bomb. A single catch could just stop this one short once again for Talon. And failing that, they've still got all these other tools here. It's going to be the Dead Eye out. Oh, didn't quite get anything. And Raphael's already down. Shui still going to open up. Didn't quite get Haru. They just had to back off. Wait out. For a moment, Talon aren't exactly in a good position either.
Well, we don't have too much time to wait, and MCD's Transcendence actually protected the team from Shui's Dragonblade, but now no more Transcendence. They do lose Persia.
They've got Kiyomi's Transcendence though, and a great bio grenade. They take MCD out of the picture. The tanks start diving on here, but they've got no healers. Buteok will eventually just go down here. He's going to be able to pop a Primal Rage, but this is just buying seconds, and it's not really seconds for anyone to return to the fight. Haru and MCD are too far away. Slay Vega is only just respawning now. Persia and Raphael, unless they get an absolutely massive slew of kills, it's not going to happen here for Talon. They are not even going to get a third on point B.
No advantages, no ultimate advantages, no player advantages. They were just evenly trading the entire time. All things, you know, considered their economy-wise for ultimates and also, you know, just players, 1-for-1. And that's not going to work. That is not good enough for Talon to be able to break through that Machi defense, so much so that they did not manage to get one tick, and they were close. They were close in a couple of fights there very early on. They nearly got that one tick. If they had managed to get that, you can imagine maybe they get a second one, but no progress means this next defense for them is going to be tough.
I mean, tough is one way to put it. They're going to have to fully hold on B, and even then,
that's a draw. That's
a draw, and that actually means a series win for Machi. So realistically,
they need to hold on A.
Yeah, realistically, they need to hold on A if they want to actually keep this one alive in terms of going the full distance and maybe pulling out a win here. And that's the thing, all that potential, all that on paper being evenly matched doesn't really mean much if on game day, the other team outperforms you. And that is what's happened so far, at least to some extent. We are seeing Talon starting to increase in confidence, but we're also starting to see them make a lot of mistakes, especially in the macro game, and just not quite pulling the trigger in the right place at the right time.
Well, you're seeing them make some good moves, and then you're seeing them get kind of stuck. You're seeing them sort of break some ground, and then unfortunately break no ground. They just get themselves in a position where they hit a wall, and they struggle so much to get past that wall that by the time they figure it out, if they figure it out, it's usually too late. And in this case, it was too late.
Diva, that is a multi-billion-dollar mech. Why is she dancing in it? That is taxpayer money.
Showing off the bonus features you get with the. That was $900,000 just for the dance moves.
I think Diva is like the most irresponsible person you could put in an expensive piece of military technology. Well, at any.
Why not? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not wrong, but Machi now on their offense, making a couple of change-ups there, so now just sort of starting to push their way into the mix now. Version needs to find some shots here, has to start backing off here as Machi make the advance forward. They are on the point. That puts the pressure on Talon to respond. A tick already gone over, actually. Talon, they need to find their end road here. It may be in the form of Shui going down, but it's getting traded anyway, and a second tick now to go over. When are Talon going to commit to the point?
Going to go in now, but also Kent's going to find the back line. So as Talon attempt to retake this defense here, look, Machi already set up, Machi already getting the kills.
And Talon,
for Talon.
Yeah, they're trickling on. They weren't really in a concerted way, and I mean, Cat did do a very good job of kind of cutting the rest of the team off from their two supports, their two healers, but at the same time, Talon didn't really do themselves any favor. Oh, hello.
Okay, that's a mistake. Forgot to fly. Now
that's a waste of taxpayer
I was going to say, yeah, that's an irresponsible way to use Diva. But at the same time, let's take a look at what Talon had compositionally as well. The Widowmaker, how do you make this Widowmaker work onto A? To make it work, you have to have your own team stop that initial rotation from Machi to make sure you get long distance sight lines. By the time Machi's already on the point, it's too late. The Widowmaker cannot give you enough distance, cannot give you enough results by that time.
Oh man, look at this. Shui just getting right into the mix. Coalescence out from Kiyomi actually doesn't quite save the tank, and Persia kind of pulling a few back in his own right. Shui not quite getting the right damage in the right places, and Machi not quite going to get that snowball off.
Very important for Talon as well to be able to win that first defense. After stabilizing now, they're going to stop Machi, as you said, from getting that snowball into action. Machi, importantly, just need to get one tick, but Talon right now, they can definitely force this defense, they can definitely force the tie. If they can just hold that one tick and they're on their way, they've got to charge a few extra ultimates, they've got to get past Shui's blade, and then they should be able to secure things along the way.
Actually, on the other hand, they've got so many resources coming up, you've got to feel that a third's achievable. Bootyuk already on the Primal Rage, kind of getting pressured to do that one. D-Crown able to kind of respond with his own sound barrier out as they look to get into the thick of the fight. They catch MCD. Shui pulls out the blade. They want to do this right here, right now. Close the lid on its self-destruct. He knows he can't get away from it, but the rest of the team did, and they are at a phenomenal numbers advantage. Talon just diving onto the point with what few members they have. They lose Raphael now. Next it's going to be Slave Vega who goes down. They got a couple of trades back. Persia, he is working double time to try and keep this one alive, but it's still just not quite enough. Now it's going to be Buteok who gets dropped on the point, and with that, the last major piece of presence has unfortunately fallen away here for Talon. It is just individual members, the one-by-one coalescence now out of Kiyomi. Persia, you can't deflect that, buddy. Gets the Dragon Blade out, actually may have just done it with that Transcendence as well. They've got Machi low and forced them back. They've got a few kills too. They've just barely held on.
And just when you thought Machi was going to complete the camp, just before D-Crown gets that Primal Rage as well, just before Restia even gets his own sound barrier, Talon walking out Persia, straight leading the team as well with that Dragon Blade, kind of doing what Shui did originally on Machi's attack onto B, getting that initial kill, forcing the Machi members back. That allowed Talon the space to work with. That allowed the rest of Talon to respawn, retake that point, and force Machi to go for another attempt.
This time a little leaner on those resources. Shui, needs to stay alive. Yeah, Judo's lost the mech. This is decisive talent. This is what happens when they are aggressive, when they're proactive, when they use their resources. That was a cheap fight win.
And they're going to be playing the chokes as well. This is very important. They saw that Machi wanted to come in the front gate. So the nano directly onto Buteo, who dives directly into the choke, stopping Machi from walking through those gates. They need to do that consistently again and again and again. And they have Primal now to do it once more.
Oh, that's one heck of a stagger. Judo was about 30% away from getting in that mech, unfortunately. And again, this is just cheap for Talon. This is what they've been needing.
And they needed to be cheap because on the other side, Machi about to hit 5 ultimates, nearly 6 even if you consider where Judo is currently. So for Talon as well, they got to get this next Transcendence up. They have to win this next fight with even ultimates on their side. That's the only way to go.
Oh, that's a great bio grenade onto the 2 tanks of Machi. With that D-crown, just gets popped instantly. And Machi are trying to pull those ultimates out of the defenders. So far, they've only got the self-destruct out of Slay Vega. It's not really enough, unfortunately. And again, now time getting lost. Talon have really found their groove.
And this is where they trade evenly as well. Not only did they lose their self-destruct, but they also got a pulse mine out of the other side. So call it even at least at this stage so far. And Machi, they were looking for ultimates. They needed a lot more. Talon was so good at making sure they didn't overcommit ultimates there. They were so good at understanding just this is enough.
Again, it is that confidence. And I'm liking it.
Nanoblade.
Yeah, very early Nanoblade though. Very aggressive Nanoblade. Goes down to Shui's own blade. That is a sour start for Talon. Gets Slay Vega's mech coalescence. Closes out the Baby Diva and Buteo low despite the Primal Rage. Transcendence though keeps him top. Persia's going to rejoin the fray as well on the Soldier. The Pulse Bomb got Judo low, but they didn't quite finish off the mech. Machi, a few members low, finally losing Rescue and D-Crown. Talon, that should be the bones of a stabilization for them, but they need to keep that presence on the point. Should have it now with Slay Vega firmly set up there, but oh boy, that came close.
And this is where the macro is really important for Talon, right? They were able to save enough ultimates previously, despite the Nanoblade going down quickly. Machi also didn't get enough distance themselves, so for Talon, again, saving those ultimates meant that the other ultimates that they had in play were very effective for blocking on Machi. Machi going in 1 for 1 in terms of ultimates, 1 for 1 in terms of members. That's not enough. It's not enough for the exact same reasons why Talon could not cap.
In a bit of a tight spot now. Machi very lean on ultimates. But Talon kind of equally lean until they get a few more up. And really either team just frag it out at the start of the fight could be all that defines it.
Another nano here. You expect it to probably go to Buteo with Shui in action.
Plus that coalescence onto the backliners now. Doesn't quite get it. The Transcendence. That wasn't actually quite the Transcendence. MCD is it's nano boosted is what the glow was. And it was all that they actually needed.
So close to Trans.
He all goes down though, just shy of having it. But Slay Vega and Buteo are up. They should be able to at least retain some presence on the point for MCD to come back out with said Transcendence. Now it's Buteo's turn to stagger, to stall, to buy seconds for MCD, but he went down. MCD's got to pile onto it now with the Transcendence. They've got D-Crown. Here's the blade out of Persia. It's got to convert, but the sound barrier is there for Machi. Machi, on the other hand, they need to convert. They want to close it out. Judo's got a double, and that could be all they need to start closing this one out. Kiyomi even getting one for good measure. And once again, it's the 2 tanks of Talon just trying as they might to stall this as best as they can, but Slay Vega's down. Is just Buteo now. Another coalescence out of Kiyomi. How many is that over the course of one fight? Persia, the Bastion's cute, but it is not on the point for all the DPS it can potentially put out, and now Slay Vega finds himself the last man standing, but unfortunately not standing on the point. Machi will not let it go to a draw. It was going to be a win either way, and it is a series now clinched for them. But they pick up the win. They are still on their way to that 4-0.
And right at the end there, so many things. The timing was just so unfortunate for Talon, right? Because you look at MCD. By the way, the Nano Zen is something that we've seen on camera from Talon before in the past. Putting the Nano onto MCD so he can specifically charge the Transcendence. So close, but he was on 12 HP. He needed a little bit of extra healing. If anyone was alive to provide that, which maybe wasn't the case if the Transcendence had come out, A, he would have lived. B, that would have also protected Buteo, who then would have primaled because he himself was so close that defense could have been saved. the difference was in getting the Transcendence or not.
Yeah, game of inches, honestly. And he was at what, 97, 98%
99,
when he went down? I
99,
mean,
yep.
you know, it doesn't get any more down to the wire than that. But off the back of it, Machi do close out. They've got that 3-0 at minimum, like I said. At the moment they captured A, they had won the series effectively. So now it is just about getting that map score differential. And that's the thing. Look, we say that the loser of this is very much not quite secure in that top 4. The winner, I believe, is relatively secure, but map differential could still be a real factor here for Machi. In fact, map differential will likely be what differentiates them from a 3rd place compared to a 4th place finish with the trajectory that they are currently on. And right now, Machi have got to be feeling good about that. After a rough start to the season, they have really started to hit their stride, and it is going to be reflected in securing their spot in the top 4.
And the final map of this match going to be taking place on to Dorado of Talon's pick as the losing team. And right now, at least in terms of map score, at least they started this entire season 7-1 after their first 2 matches, which were against Chaos Theory in week 1 and then Bazaar in week 2. Didn't make the Korea, they lost 0-4 last week. Now, so far in the series, 0-3 against Machi, which leaves their 5th and final match being Hong Kong Attitude next week. So for this team to now hold on to even their 4th place spot, they got to make sure they can get something out of Hong Kong Attitude, and they got to also make sure that Machi have a rough time, or they don't get to have a say, but they have to hope that Machi do not get any further wins, or that other teams get any further wins.
And that's the thing.
Rather.
Suddenly Talon, like you said, coming up against Hong Kong Attitude, that's a situation where they would be having to beat a team who has beat a team that they've lost to. That team being Machi. You know, that's the thing. You lose to Machi, who in turn lost to Hong Kong Attitude. You've got to consider that that's an uphill battle for you if you are in Talon's shoes. And after a strong start to the season, Talon are now starting to find themselves in a rough spot. And that's why this map is also crucially important. I said that map differential for Machi, it's going to mean so much. It's going to mean potentially the difference between 3rd place and 4th place, which really changes who you play against in your quarterfinal. But for Talon, could be the difference between 4th place and just not making playoffs at all.
Okay, so let's just pause for a second, and not literally pause, but let's just consider that this Symmetra pick is real, and I wanted to make sure it was real by looking at the timer, and as we're heading down to the start of the game.
Yep.
D-Crown's actually doing this. This is a for real strat. So
and Judo is on Widowmaker, Kiyomi's on Junkrat.
And this might be the first time we're seeing Symmetra not just in Pacific contenders, but all the contenders.
Yeah. I was actually talking to someone the other day. I was like browsing some skins, and like I was like, you know what? Sometimes I legitimately forget that Symmetra is in this game. But here she is to remind us all. See how it goes.
I will be very interested to see how they make this work. And look, if Judo can connect shots like that, well then the Symmetra is only one part of the equation here. Talon now, they must know there's a Symmetra, because you see the orbs fly out, so and then Utayoka's got to be a Minesweeper duty.
They're probably doing what you just did with the like, yeah, no, that is Symmetra, right? Yeah, okay. Persia, he's got a lot of squishy targets he could potentially get the catch on, so if he can connect the shots, he could honestly single-handedly bust apart this defense. It's only single tank.
He's also looking for Judo, right? That's the first target he's got to find here, and it's not just single tank, it's technically a single healer, because D-Crown Symmetra doesn't count in this case, and already the shots flying in.
And that's the thing, or you could pick Restia, but you get Kiyomi, and Buteok goes down for it as well, so it's kind of a tricky start here.
There's no more healers.
Yeah, no more healers at all, and that should mean the Talon can start kind of punching their way through these squishy members of Machi. Kent being excluded there, but slow going, are getting the progress.
And we're not seeing an ultimate out of D-Crown just yet either, and you kind of expected the shield generator, probably a little bit better than the teleporter, but at the same time, it allows how much space they're losing.
Yeah, I mean, not quite able to get that ultimate up, unfortunately. Teleporter could have maybe had them re-enter the fight. The whole hog out of Can hasn't really found anything, and I think Machi have to maybe reconsider this one.
Yep, they definitely are. Didn't even get to use ultimates, and this is where things can fall apart very quickly. That A defense was unfortunately just incredibly poor. Like, it wasn't ever going to work, I suspect, because Talon are not the kind of team that are going to get rolled over by that kind of composition, and now Talon are going to do the rolling over on top of Machi, because they got the ult to Machi completely reset. The only thing they got is a Valkyrie, and you need way more than a Valkyrie to get this defense back underway.
Oh man, yeah. At least they do have the right member on the Mercy as well, because they had a lot of other wacky change-ups there. You know, it was Kant on a tank, it was Decran on, I mean, Symmetra is support, but it's a DPS. Defense, I don't know, but Persia, oh, catch on Judo. Set up with those sight lines, and right now there actually isn't an enemy Widowmaker anymore. They have opted well away from that. Machi just aren't really getting the mileage out of their DPSs.
And this is now looking so easy for Talon because they just manage their resources effectively here. Not only can they snowball onto B, but they can snowball all the way onto C as well. They got the amount of ultimates to do it. They can rotate effectively. Machi now have to wait for a lot of their own ultimates, which are not going to happen until probably C. For Talon to lose this push right now, they would have to play it very...
Ooh. Oh, man. Had so little health, and Raphael was there to kind of send him.
Farm.
Yeah, this is just an absolute roll right now from Talon. The momentum is just completely unhindered at this point. I mean, the card is barely getting stopped. The kills are all coming through the way of Talon with only a few small exceptions. This should be a point B cap before too long.
And we're still seeing Machi not deciding what exactly they want to play. Kant's now going onto the Sombra, revealed that he's going to go onto the Sombra. Talon pushing on through the momentum from A, unhindered like you sort of said, going on to C now. Still ultimates available. They can, in fact, use these ultimates to get a full cap out on C in record time for this team as well. And Machi, I mean, they're going to wish they never did that A defense.
Oh, man,
they probably already wish they never did that A defense.
Yeah, I bet you. I bet they were already regretting it before they'd even really started.
I mean, they can't believe they committed to that, and neither can Talon.
Neither can I. And now Machi, they finally have some ultimates coming up, but you know, it's all about how you convert. The payloads just had so much distance so far. Even getting a fight win here might not be enough. Can's down already, self-destructing from Judo. It gets a bit of space, but you also see D-Crown with a primal rage. He's going to go down. Shui, he goes down as well. What is going on here for Machi? They're just falling apart completely. They commit the ultimates, but they still get picked off. No one on Talon died there.
Well, the problem is this is no longer a snowball. It's looking more like an avalanche right now. And Machi, the best they can do is get out of the way, and getting out of the way may not be enough. This is a wide berth for Talon. They're moving through a lot of ultimates coming out online. Can change to the Sombra now, only just coming up to EMP.
And Persia's still getting these shots in through here. Finally a transcendence out of Kiyomi, but MCD, he's able to match with his own anyway, and Talon still have the advantage, still have the ultimates, just need to convert. Oh no, Buteok didn't get the primal rage, and yeah, EMP now into the mix here. That could be all they need. They get Slave Ager's mech. They're able to close out on him as well, so now without the tanks, Talon don't know if they can quite close this one out just yet. Machi finally actually getting a fight win, finally getting a stabilization 3 meters rather from cap.
And the other thing is, you can consider that if Butek managed to get the primal rage off, maybe Talon continue pushing there. The other factor is Persia, unfortunately for Talon, stopped getting a bunch of kills. So now he changes onto something else a little bit more preferable, like the McCree that he has been favoring. Been kind of shaky onto the McCree, but either way, Talon need to do something else here. They are now fighting into an actually stabilized Machi while only having about 2 minutes remaining, which is not a huge amount of time.
It isn't, but it's also a lot when you consider that they only need one more fight win. It's not like they're only just capping into point C now. You know, they are... Oh, no way! Oh, if he'd got Kanj as well, that would have been one for the highlight reel, but instead the sound barrier out from Machi to try and begin a stabilization. Defensive ultimates out from Talon. They kind of re-enter the fight now. Judo demexed out of the picture. Kiyomi a bit too late in with the Transcendence to save him, but does keep the team topped off, but... Oh man, Raphael does go down in the mix there. Great shot onto D-Crown, but with the primal rage, he's going to be able to stay alive for a while. Good heavens, would you look at the time. Everyone just kind of scattering away from that one. Buteo going down as Raphael gets res, so Machi once again have kind of stabilized, at least numerically. And yeah, popping Slave Vega here, they have got the fight win.
So importantly now, Kant decided not to use the EMP. And by the way, this could have been This could have been so sick for Talon as well. They nearly got their second headshot onto Can. If they managed to get the second kill, they would have been able to push through so easily. We just probably need to see slightly better Deadeye out of Persia as well. Probably a little bit too keen onto that one. Can sees the Deadeye very quickly, backs himself out, doesn't use the EMP, has it available now in what could be potentially the final engagement out of Talon as they lower themselves into the sub 1 minute mark.
I'm out of here.
That was a translocator that did not move you at all.
And that does mean that there's only one last chance here effectively for Talon. It says a lot about Machi that when they finally dig in their heels, it converts for them, but Kant maybe didn't quite commit that one where he wanted. Shui does go down, and Buteok, he's been able to back away now, and yeah, D-Crown's dead to the self-destruct. Now Talon start fighting their way out of the space. Doesn't want to commit the flashbang just then onto Cans. Raphael gets the closeout, cart's back underway.
The thing is, it was a decent EMP, but the other thing is, there's not enough members from Machi to take advantage, and Talon, they back off into the staircase, find themselves a health pack even, and now have door control.
Yeah, Valkyrie out, D-Crown piling in. They've got the one ultimate at their disposal, having already been committed. They've now got a couple more coming up on rotation. Deadeye doesn't quite find anything that they were needing. Self-destruct up on the high ground. Delays a little bit. Only dead member here is Buteok, who did actually have a primal rage, but now without Slay Vega, they are lacking his tanks again with the double flashbang. Only gets the headshot on Shui though, so Can's still in the mix here, and they do kill Persia. Buteok is a long way from this. Oh, actually, sorry, he's right in the mix there. That was a raise from Haru, and he's got the primal rage this time. They have got it over the line.
And in overtime, no less. And you got to consider right now, Machi allowed that to happen on some level. That A defense was so poor. On some level, I think they were maybe, I don't want to put words in their mouths or anything, but maybe trying to have a little bit of fun there. But a little bit of fun can cost you in the long run, because Talon, they look at them and they say, okay, we'll just take A for free. Yeah. And we'll also take B for free because we're still changing compositions. But when you get to C, and this is where you got to be a little bit concerned for Talon still, is the fact that Machi had that rough of a start where they weren't even playing the game until they got to C. The fact that when C actually happened, they managed to bank up some ultimates, they managed to sort of pull things back in their favor, it started to look like Talon were not going to cap at all. And that's a scary, scary thought.
It says a lot about Machi that when they did finally, dig in their heels and they sort of had the position, like you said, they nearly ended up fully holding out. You got to imagine what if it had been like that from the start. There's a world where Talon wouldn't have even got it through the opening courtyard to cap out point A, but Machi were kind of the makers of their own demise there, unfortunate as it is to say. I just don't believe any of these hovers from Machi anymore.
No, I don't either. On some level, though, I got to think Shui saying to D-Crown, okay, this is how you actually, I think you played Symmetra wrong.
Yeah. Let me show you. Shui's like, I'm a Symmetra one trick, I've got this.
Which would be crazy, because for him to be Symmetra one trick, the Genji, which has been phenomenal, would have to be like one of his worst picks.
It's like, and I barely play Genji.
I suck at Genji.
I mean, I feel like there's a world where the Doomfist is kept on, but I was going to say, but it wouldn't be D-Crown playing him.
So by the way, because Talon finished the map, and even in overtime, the fact that they finished the map means there's a reasonable amount of pressure here for Machi, where they might not be able to win this. There's a real possibility where Talon can secure a good defense and Machi do not push on through, because by the way, we spent a long time on Hanamura B where Machi did exactly that, not push through.
Yeah, and Shui, seeing what they're running, decides that the Pharmacy is not going to be the way to go, swaps off to the Genji. They do have to start getting into position. Already can try to flank on the side, dislodge this initial position out of Talon.
Oh,
ooh. He's out, he's fine.
And you're seeing a pretty decent ult charge out of Persia, so you can tell that he's definitely hitting his shots right now. And for Machi, you need to be respecting that, because when you don't, that's what happens, and it's going to put a stop to the EMP charge, at least for now. Shui's kind of going to try and come in from the sides, but Persia knows.
Yeah, man, definitely hitting those shots, huh? And Machi just sort of looking to find their way in here.
By the way, 1 minute now off the clock. Shui eats a Venom Mine, so Talon, maybe not so tasty. It's feeding ult charge, right? And soon we're going to have an infra site.
Yep, and with that, they kind of can't get Kant into ideal positions for those flanks. Neither can they get Shui into those positions. So they just kind of have to run it down the middle, but it's actually profiting them a little bit. They have got a bit more progress on the cart here, and Talon do have to respond, but Machi are also getting these tanks very low here. Yeah, Shui goes down. It's not sustainable for them to just kind of barge down the middle like that. And now with the infrasite running, they can't really go for those flanks just yet. It's now ended. They have an opportunity, but they haven't even finished losing the fight still.
And Kant still can't get an EMP. He's just had 2 deaths now before really even committing anything, before really, you know, having a chance to start a fight now. Finally going to finish the EMP eventually, but eventually it's going to be 2 minutes remaining, which means half of the attacking time has disappeared.
And that's the thing, we were just talking about how it is possible that Machi don't win this at all. Talon need only waste enough of their time and then have that one good fight, that one good defense, and Kant. That is a tight spot to be in. Plus Pulse Bomb on Shui. Yeah, now he's dead. They cannot go in for that fight, and this is just even more time lost.
That's a huge mistake. Kant, I don't know. Here's the thing. Kant had the possibility to just EMP. He wanted to go for the hack first. Because he goes for the hack, he alerts Talon that he's there, who then respond to him, forcing him backwards because he took too much damage. If he just used the EMP straight away, he allows Machi to dive on him. They can combo with their support ultimates. They can win the fight. But I don't know, Machi just not making the right calls.
And Raphael with his hit and run tactics is just wasting so much of their time. They're barely able to actually get set up because they're constantly being harassed on the way. Now finally going in, there's the EMP.
He backs out.
Yeah, straight away, so he is not going to be the one to follow up, but MCD gets off the Transcendence, as does Kiyomi. They've only got Persia so far. They've spent a lot of time running down Haru, but it's paid off. Buteok and Slay Vega both didn't quite have the ultimates, and Shui does what Shui does on the Genji. At long last, with less than a minute, Machi are finally going to cap A.
And Machi, for all the time that they spent looking for the backline of Talon, Talon's own frontline could not contest the cart themselves. By the way, they were still EMP'd, so Machi making the right call with the other 5 members. Still unfortunate, though, that Kant himself had to translocate out despite using that EMP. So almost in a 5 versus 6, Machi were able to win that attack and wipe a little bit of sort of a little bit of a sweat off their brow as well. Now finally moving into the B section, but pretty much into overtime on A.
And I wouldn't be surprised, another Pulse Bomb from Raphael onto Shui. And I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if we get another overtime onto B as well, unless they get a big momentum play out of the Dragon Blade, which was immediately taken off the table.
Which is always possible because we've seen what Shui can do with the Dragon Blade so far. They've been impactful. The bigger issue is time because Machi, once they lose the Dragon Blade, then how are they going to get distance? Kant's got to get another great EMP. He's been kind of indecisive with them so far. If Talon at any point stabilize, you're going to be in overtime again.
And they have got Buteok, who is a bit too deep on the dive. Slay Vega throws in the self-destruct way in behind them, but no dice, unfortunately, and they respond with their own to create an equal amount of space. Shui able to get out with his life, and Machi are back underway. Talon are just kind of letting this one roll through. They're just getting picked one by one, only now responding by getting Judo's mech. Machi now sort of moving into what will be the final fighting zone, if you will. Just under 2 minutes remaining.
And by the way, the cart only just got stopped up, so it's taken some time for Talon to respond to at least the objective, but now that they have responded to the objective, it's Machi giving up the objective control themselves, letting that cart go, allowing Talon to control it, and Machi are going to find this next section somewhat difficult, but at least they have the blade, and they're about to have an EMP.
And the thing that stopped them up was actually Judo not having the mech, so that did end up paying off for Talon just barely. Machi didn't have the numbers advantage. They didn't quite want to press what they had. Cans. Oh, that didn't translocate out. Shui's already got him with the Dragon Blade right on top of a Transcendence. Oh man, this is all going pear-shaped for Machi. Not the fight they were after.
One thing that Talon have been able to do reasonably successfully and consistently is find Kant, flush him out, force him backwards. Even when Kant uses the EMP, instantly has to translocate out. Because of that, we're not seeing great Sombra usage out of Kant so far. This is meant to be his hero. This is meant to be his new pick in this current meta on this Contenders patch. And because Machi couldn't use the EMP, the Dragon Blade was played into a Transcendence, they've been stopped up.
Now Pulse Bomb out of Raphael. How many times as that seems to have been magnetized to catch Shui?
Because he's made a middle.
Yep. Raphael, oh, he's low. He's pressured out, though. Not going to get that pulse bomb off just yet. Oh, it goes down right at the very end of that, and that's an opening now for Machi. Talon kind of let themselves separate. Look at all those ultimates they had and didn't use because they split themselves up, tried to get too clever, tried to get too much of a wraparound on Machi, just kind of left the center wide open.
And we were pretty much into overtime there, so it was 10 seconds off overtime, so Machi now just heading into C with barely getting themselves extra kills as well. What is happening? Talon had everything they needed to finish that game. They had all the resources and now they're throwing that away.
My ultimate is
And I mean, Machi still have so much that they can use here. We'll soon see a Dragon Blade available for Shui. We've got the stall tools. We've got a sound barrier to give them some safety in a fight. Talon, they have to get a lot of mileage out of what they've got. They don't just want to be stalling with this Primal Rage. They need to actually get more out of it.
That being said, you got to consider this defense is still pretty good when they have 1 minute remaining.
There it is, the sound barrier out, and that's Machi trying to get the upper hand. Restia does get caught by that one pulse bomb. Judo's low, should commit a self-destruct if they decide to stay in this fight. And they need to decide now, with Can down, I think maybe they just pull back. Indeed, that is their play.
And they can't afford to pull back too many more times. They have to have a momentum push now, which means they have to win this push and also the next one as well. The next one being the round of respawns that will happen even if Machi can finish a team fight. Even if they win a team fight, Talon get one guaranteed wave of respawns right at the last second as we head into the overtime.
And they've kind of got to decide which of these ultimates they want to use to open the fight, which do they want to use to close it, and which do they want to use on those respawners. But they need to make sure they have resources for all of those situations. Deep round without using the Primal Rage. He's already dead. How many times have we seen that happen? Not even just this series, but in general. And now they've had to commit everything they've got on just opening out this fight, finally getting something else. The flashbang, though, stops Shui short. Now Persia back in the fight, piling on the damage. He is going to get cornered in this little alcove here by Judo. Payload has got underway just a little bit. Respawn's going to start coming in for Talon. Here's D-Crown now re-entering. Does with the Primal Rage. They need to finish off Buteok first. They've got MCD. Slay Vega will also have a self-destruct, but they've got Raphael on the side. And they are actually still ahead in this fight, even if just barely. Judo self-destruct in the nick of time to preserve the mech, to preserve the numbers. Slay Vega have got nothing with his own. We're going to go to Time Bank.
And this is the part that's really difficult for Talon, right? Because they had everything they needed to finish this game. They had Machi on their own defense on A, run out with a super unusual composition that got punished extremely hard that allowed Talon to finish the map on their own attack. And then defensively, rewind back to that B point in the final moments as we headed into the overtime. They had 5 ultimates. What are they doing? They did not commit. They did not get that fight underway. When you're that far ahead of Machi, when you should have won, so many things ended up going wrong. And it's not like we're back on Hanamura where we're saying, okay, MCD was 1% away from Transcendence. If he got that, then Buteok gets a Primal Rage. No, they had all of that. Yeah. They had everything. They just did not use it.
Yeah, this is no longer that game of inches where things just did not quite line up. This is just, I mean, even both teams at times just not pulling the trigger. I mean, this is just chaos here on Dorado. This is...
The Chaos Theory's not even playing.
I know. It's that, I mean, maybe they are, because this is not the same two teams we've seen this whole series long.
But it also is. It very much is at the same time. It's the only thing that's a little bit weird is Machi, then it's even, no, I was going to say Machi kind of struggled on that attack, but that's kind of somewhat normal because we see them struggle in the attack on Hanamura as well, so nothing super regular. Both teams with 1 minute.
Machi out on a much more normal defense this time around.
Not going to risk it.
Yeah, sigh of relief out of me, I'll tell you. They do need to know when to pull back from this advanced position. They're going to go ahead and commit for a fight here. Not really getting the conversion, may just need to start pulling back now.
Which, by the way, is very smart. As long as they don't lose members, it's very smart because they're buying time, and time is so important. Look, 25 seconds already off the clock, nearly 30 seconds, which is halfway time for Talon, and we're not even through the archway.
And that's the thing, you look to stall for time, you look to not let the payload move, and then when you hit that 0, when you hit that overtime, that's when you make your stand, that's when you take your fight, but hopefully you then win. And off the back of that, should be well set for your own offense, but they still need to convert it, Machi, now as we round into 10 seconds left.
And so much pressure on to that archway as well. The cart's already stopped up. It's about to be overtime, or we haven't moved through. We need to see more car movement. We need to see Talon pick up kills.
Machi holding at this choke point is so smart by them. Persia is trying to keep tabs on Kant, who's just trying to wrap around the back line, but no such luck. He was able to get the angle, and they just start popping these members out one by one. They do get the trade back on Judo's mech, but it is nowhere near enough. This is now Haru with the Valkyrie desperately trying to keep the point alive. Not going to happen, and Persia, how many times have we seen a Widowmaker not on the point, huh? But hey, can't be blamed for that. Certainly not Persia's job in that situation. That is not a lot of progress on the card. That is what Machi are capable of.
I will say something. If you see a Widowmaker on the point, I think you've already lost.
Yeah.
For that to happen, what that says is I have to be on point because my whole team's dead.
Things have gone so badly that I can't actually do my job. I have to do someone else's job.
So let's go back and talk about that defense from Machi, because now we're starting to see, you know, what this defense looks like when, first of all, they're running a real composition, but also when they're now really focused on win conditions and the time bank as well. 1 minute remaining means let's force as many early fights as possible while not losing members. So we don't want to overstep, we don't want to overcommit, but we do want to burn time off. And like you said, as we hit that 0 second mark, when the overtime does come in, that's when Machi want to come in and win. And they made very sure not to lose a single member, especially to the Widowmaker on Talon's side as well, which, by the way, was a big part of Talon's attack originally.
And that's the thing, they never actually let Persia get out into that courtyard where you've got all of those sight lines. And I mean, on the whole, I've actually got to say, I'm just legitimately really pleased that Machi played time bank well. So often we see teams not really understand how to maximize on time bank, how to play for the win condition. Machi, though, they are a seasoned team. They know how to play to win on time bank. Scouting out now with the Hanzo. They should have spotted the Junkrat.
And this is where, well, they know the Junkrat's there now because they see the spam, but we also need to see some defense out of Talon. They've abandoned the early post so quickly, which means they need to hold this choke point in the archway. If they can get the choke, they can get the archway under control. Persia's spam damage from the Junkrat is going to be monumental.
But the truth is, Persia so far has been less effective than Shui's. Look at the difference in ult charge. Look at how low Slave Vega and Buteok have been for the most part. Slave Vega's going to get D-Back. Buteok's dead as well. Oh dear. And there's not enough presence here. Persia having to get right into the thick of it again. If you find your Junkrat is on the point, something must have gone terribly wrong. But they get Shui. They get a res in as well. They may have just barely stabilized. 10 seconds.
And no one can get away from this right now. We could still see a Talon victory. Make no mistake. 5 seconds remaining. Kent is dead.
He is just barely, but he will be able to get back into this one. They need to get someone on the payload. There they go now onto it. And it's just going to be an honest scrap underneath this archway with the Rip Tire about to come up on rotation. Let it rip indeed. They haven't got that EMP in time. No one's there. Oh, Restia. That's the only one he got. They are getting onto the point now. Slay Vega is still not actually back in the mech. Resin on Restia. Bachan's down, just shy of the EMP. And they're desperately trying to scrap their way through the Archman Persia. He's got the spam damage into the choke point, and Buteok punching them off the point. It is going to be Talon just barely catching one back to take it 3-1. What a bizarre map.
But at the same time, Talon just clutching on through. We've been waiting to see this the entire evening. We've been waiting to see when do Talon take this victory, because this entire Dorado, ever since Machi started off with that strange composition, it seemed like it should be a Talon victory. But so many times, they've just not been able to grasp at it. It's been at arm's length, and they've kind of swiped at it, but never really grabbed it. So finally, seeing them at the end there, it almost feels deserved, but it nearly wasn't the case. Machi win overall, but Talon get to walk away with one.
Yeah, that's the thing. On Dorado there, Talon came dangerously close to clutching defeat from the jaws of victory. But the ultimate victory does, of course, go the way of Machi. That was secured on Hanamura. And with that, I do believe they secure their top 4 finish as well here in Week 4. Machi will be able to make a playoffs run now for the first time since really entering into the Pacific Circuit as a whole, and that's got to be a good feeling for them. Certainly a hard fought and I would say well earned feeling.
Yeah, and they, you know, still not the end of the road yet for anybody to be quite accurate here, because everyone's still got at least one more match to go. So that final match in week 5 is still going to determine a few things and just kind of finalize exactly where people sit. And if Machi now finishing in 3rd place, if they do secure that 3rd place, provided they don't do something horrible next week, you know, they still got to go up against number 2 from Group B. So that's going to be very interesting in how they prepare for that. But right now, Talon, they fall down. They, I believe, are now in number 4. So things are starting to shape up quite conclusively.
And that's the thing. They do now find themselves, unfortunately, one loss away from maybe not making it into playoffs. And like I said, they've now gone from, at one point, 2nd place, now down to 4th place. I mean, this is a group full of really stiff competition. This was potentially going to happen to anyone, but it had to happen to someone.
Yeah.
And it appears that someone is Talon.
That being said, though, Talon have so far beaten both the Chaos Theory and Bazaar, so they've beaten number 5 and number 6. So for them to lose number 4 right now, both Chaos Theory and Bazaar are going to do something incredibly good and get some crazy good map wins, because I think right now, because Talon have specifically beaten those other 2 teams below them, it would be very difficult for them to fall to number 5. Yeah,
difficult indeed. You would like that safety, but certainly not too dire here for Talon, and that's the thing. They can, in their own right, look to make a playoffs run now. But the unfortunate thing as well, though, is if they do end up doing so with that 4th place finish, they come up against the number 1 seed from the other group, which right now is looking like it's either going to be Blank or Mega. And I mean, having watched that series, you wouldn't really want to be coming up against either of those opponents. They are both incredibly good and incredibly evenly matched as they look towards their playoffs run. There's no avoiding one of those 2 teams right now.
And yeah, that's the part that kind of hurts, especially for Talon, who started the season in the number 2 spot, just behind Detonator Korea. I mean, this was meant to be a team that could have potentially held on to the number 2 spot. They just need a slightly better performance against both Detonator Korea and now against Machi. If they had beaten Machi, you could see them maybe fight for number 2, because they haven't played Hong Kong Attitude yet, which means for a team like Talon, if they beat Machi, then Hong Kong Attitude, they get their number 2 spot back. But now, I think the best they can get is maybe hope for number 3 if they beat Hong Kong Attitude, but that is a tough ask. We're talking about, okay, what if they finish 4th and play Blank or Mega? What about the Hong Kong Attitude match? That's still tough.
And, I mean, there's also another match coming up, speaking of Hong Kong Attitude, which is Hong Kong Attitude Detonator Korea. So that's the thing, that top 2 actually in Group A, not quite solidified just yet either. Could still go either way there, depending on who wins that matchup as well. So things still very much shifting, and I mean, really, things aren't going to be perfectly stable until, of course, we round the bend and close out next week. That's still a week away, but before then, let's go ahead and catch up with Kant.
All right, let's get straight into the interview. I'll be translating this one to over. So introduce yourself, Kent.
Hello, 大家好，我是 Ken。
好久不见。
Haven't seen you in a while.
先问问你们刚最后一场为什么拿新美塔
So
出
why
来？
did you pick that composition on Dorado?
大家已经10拿9稳，想说试一下我们其实在团练的新的战术，然后让对方解不了，结果发现好像不是这回事。
So we thought we'd try something different. We were already ahead, and maybe we throw the other team off, but it didn't work the way we
因为
planned.
当然也知道也是看你打比赛了一阵子嘛。那这季之后呢，其实对手跟队友都换了，你自己觉得有没有什么样不一样的感
So
觉？
a lot of teams have
就
changed.
是语言的问题吧，就是因为
Right now, what kind of changes have you felt? And he's saying, for our team specifically, with our new members,
所以我们有很多其实沟通上会有一些障碍。
communication has been the new thing for us, speaking 2 languages.
其实有，但是我们已经在慢慢的修正这问题。
And we're right now in
蛮努
process
力
of
的，我看你
fixing
开台一直在
communication.
打 rank， 你是下了什么决心？是不是？
So right now you're
就是
focusing a lot of ranked play
难得有
actually.
世界赛，那能去参加的话
So
就
right now
就算
Taiwan
没有我去参加，我
is
希望
only
是给台湾
barely
有机会
made it
让一些人
in
都
20th
去
place. So
发热这样
I'm one of the players really trying to
非
push
常
for
棒的
Taiwan
心
to
态，那恭喜你获得今天
secure
胜
the
利，
top
主播
20.
赛评都认为你的进步以及表现都非常的亮眼。
谢谢。
好了，那希望可以看到你做的好成绩
So
喽。那我们这
all
边
the
休息
analysts
一下，
have
等
thought
下
that
精彩比赛马
your
上回
play
来。
has improved quite considerably, and we hope to see you continue to improve. And with that, it's going to be Machi and Talon finishing off the middle match of the evening for week 4, day 1. When we come back, though, the heavy hitter, or at least one of 2 heavy hitters. I think we can get 2 in one night. It's going to be Detonator Korea versus Hong Kong Attitude. The number 1 and number 2 from Group A come right back on for that. It's going to be a big one. We'll see you soon.